Willis, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Here now, Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois. He's a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, let's start with Pentagon spokesman John Kirby's comments. The U.S. appears to be sensitive about this issue, about being seen as playing a direct role in either the sinking of the Moskva or in the killing of Russian generals, as the New York Times reported earlier this week. But isn't it fair to say the U.S. intelligence has contributed to Russian deaths?
I think that it's definitely contributed to the Ukrainians being able to defend themselves, and then combined with their other intelligence capabilities and gathering other insights, I think that they then conduct their own strikes. But I think it's really important to say very clearly that the U.S. is going to help them to defend themselves, and then what they do with that information from there is really up to them.
Kirby said that the U.S. shared information about the location of the Moskva without knowing Ukraine's intent. I mean, do you buy that? We all know what the intent was. I'm not saying I have an issue with it, but I mean, there seems to be kind of like a little dance going on here that I don't really fully understand. We're giving them arms, we're giving them money, we're giving them intelligence. Of course we're helping them kill Russian soldiers.
Well, I think that it's a little different than, for instance, what happened in Iraq or Afghanistan, where we clearly provided a lot more information to our partners to target and to help them to actually destroy certain facilities or pieces of equipment and so forth. Here, it's more, as Mr. Kirby said, providing intelligence so that you know where the next missile is coming from if it does. As you know, the Moscow was very involved in shelling the Ukrainians repeatedly. And so being able to tell them where it's located so that they can prepare themselves for the next shelling and attack is really important.
Again, I'm not taking issue with what the U.S. is doing. I'm just wondering why there's almost this pretense. Where is the line where the U.S. crosses it and you would be considering this to be a proxy war with Russia? I mean, we're giving them arms, we're giving them billions, we're giving them money, we're giving them intelligence. If that's not a proxy war with Russia, what is?
Well, I think that the line is, let me take it a different way. In Afghanistan, the Russians were involved with potentially paying bounties to Afghan warlords and others to kill Americans, to go on the hunt for Americans wherever they were. Here, we are actually giving assistance to the Ukrainians to be able to defend themselves from oncoming attacks. Now, in defending themselves, do they end up killing Russians? That's very possible. And that's just the way it's going to be so long as they are able to defend themselves successfully.
Is the fear here that Russia would directly retaliate against the United States? Is that why these lines are being drawn and this language is being used?
I think that all along we've made it very clear that we are going to provide whatever material assistance necessary to defend the Ukrainians, not to go on the offense, for instance, in Russia, or to locate strategic assets and so forth. I think that's an important distinction that we're trying to maintain.
President Biden just announced another $150 million worth of equipment for Ukraine, in addition to asking Congress for another $33 billion. Senate Democrats are considering tying that to COVID relief funding. Republicans say if that's true, they would want some sort of line to ensure that Title 42 is kept. That's the Trump-era policy that allows them to invoke the coronavirus pandemic to more quickly eject migrants from the country. Would you be okay with that if this is all one big package?
Well, I think that we absolutely have to combat COVID, not only here in the United States, where we're starting to run out of funds to buy treatments and vaccines, but also across the world if we're ever going to end this pandemic. And I'm helping to lead the fight there. I think that's a totally separate issue from the border, Jake. And I think that we should take those issues separately. I would not want to see it related to border issues. I think that the package should involve Ukraine and, of course, the COVID aid so that we can actually get out of this pandemic.
Well, Title 42 is about COVID. It's an HHS regulation, I believe, Health and Human Services, saying because of the COVID pandemic, the authorities at the border can eject migrants more quickly and not let them stay and declare asylum. It's directly related to COVID. If Republicans wanted to attach that, I understand you don't like it, but if Republicans wanted to attach it, I mean, it is germane to COVID.
I think the issue there is it's germane, but it's not directly related to fighting COVID, which is what we absolutely have to do right now. And right now we're seeing a surge in cases. And if we're going to sit here and talk about the border instead of dealing with those cases, we could see another resurgence of COVID by the fall.
I want to ask you about abortion, given the news this week about it. President Biden is calling on Congress to pass laws that would codify Roe versus Wade nationwide before the Supreme Court presumably undermines it. Democrats don't have the votes to do that. I mean, in the Senate, they do in the House. So what can Congress actually do?
I think the main point here is we got to get people on the record if we're going to hold them accountable in the fall and beyond. At this point, obviously, we need to defeat the filibuster, in my opinion, to move forward with approval of the Women's Health Protection Act, the WHPA, which is being filibustered in the Senate. But if we can't get that, Jake, we got to get on the record everybody's position very clearly on this so we can hold them accountable at the polls in November.
Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, Democrat of Illinois, thanks so much. Good to see you again. Europe is